The city of Lurea was glowing with neon lights, flying cars, and tall towers touching the clouds. It was a world full of machines, holograms, and people living fast lives. But inside a small apartment in the lower district, Alira Wynn sat on the edge of her bed, holding her head in her hands. She had just received a message from the Galactic Credit Agency. Her brother, Laren, had borrowed a large sum of money to enter illegal virtual races. He had lost badly, and now the debt had tripled. If they didn't pay within 7 days, bounty enforcers would come for him. And they weren't known for their kindness. Alira had always taken care of her younger brother after their parents died in a spaceport accident. She worked as a cybernetic engineer at a small lab, fixing damaged droids and designing limb replacements for injured miners. But her salary was not enough to cover even half of Laren's debt. She had no one to turn to. No family, no close friends, and no help from the system. She felt hopeless. That night, as she was about to shut down her datapad, a new message appeared. It was from Drax Conglomerate, one of the largest corporations in the galaxy. It was an invitation. You are requested to attend a private meeting at Drax Citadel. Confidential terms will be discussed regarding your brother's debt. Come alone. No recording devices. 8 o'clock next cycle. Alira stared at the message. Everyone knew the name Kalen Drax, the cold and powerful CEO of Drax Conglomerate. He was known for his ice-like personality and ruthless business style. He had built an empire by defeating every enemy in the market, and he showed no emotions, only numbers and results. But why would someone like him contact her? The next morning, she wore her cleanest black suit and arrived at the Drax Citadel. The building floated above the city, connected by a sky bridge. The guards scanned her before letting her enter the main chamber. The floor was made of white glass, and digital birds flew across a fake sky on the ceiling. Kalen Drax stood near a tall window, hands behind his back, watching the clouds float beneath them. He turned as she walked in. His dark suit matched his sharp features. His eyes were cold gray, and his face was unreadable, like a man made of stone. "You're Alira Wynn," he said in a flat voice. "Yes," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I have reviewed your brother's situation. His debt has reached over 900,000 credits. He cannot pay. If nothing is done, he will be arrested." Alira clenched her fists. "I'll find a way to pay." "You won't," he said without emotion. "Not in time. Not in your current situation." She hated how he said it, but he was right. "Then why am I here?" she asked. Kalen pressed a button. A contract appeared on a floating screen beside him. "I am offering you a deal. Marry me. Publicly, for 1 year. In return, your brother's debt will be erased." Alira's breath caught in her throat. "Marry you," she whispered. Kalen didn't blink. "It will be a contract marriage. You will live with me. Attend events when needed. Behave according to the agreement. After 1 year, the marriage ends. No legal battles, no obligations. But why me?" she asked, confused. "You could marry anyone. Someone richer, smarter, more useful." "I don't need a partner for love or wealth," he replied calmly. "I need someone unnoticed. Someone who won't attract attention, but can stand beside me for my current business moves. Your record is clean. Your face is not known. And you are agreeable." Alira frowned. She felt like he was choosing a machine, not a person. But she also saw something strange in his eyes. Was there something he wasn't saying? "And if I refuse?" she asked. "Your brother will be arrested in 6 days," he said coldly. "I will not offer this again." Alira looked down. Her heart was pounding. She never dreamed of a big wedding, but she had hoped to marry for love, not for survival. But if she didn't do this, Laren's life would be ruined or ended. "I want it in writing," she said finally. "No hidden rules." "You'll clear his debt completely." Kalen nodded. "He will be protected. You have my word and my contract." She took a deep breath and looked at the digital screen again. Her finger shook slightly as she pressed accept. The wedding was fast and quiet. A government drone recorded the vows, and an AI judge confirmed the union. Alira wore a silver-white suit. Kaylin wore black. No rings, no family, no smiles. After the ceremony, she was taken to the top floor of the Citadel, their private quarters. The room was large, cold, and full of expensive decorations that didn't feel like home. Kaylin stood by the door. "There is a sleeping chamber for you at the far end," he said. "We will not share a room. This is a business agreement. Do not expect warmth." Alira nodded slowly. "Fine by me." He handed her a datapad. "This contains the rules. Read them, sign. You will follow them at all times. If you break the contract, the deal is over." She looked down at the datapad. The first line read, "You are not to question Kaylin Drax's personal affairs." The second line, "You must not attempt to uncover details about the true purpose of this marriage." The third, "You are now a public figure. Image must be maintained." Alira Ray signed it without a word. That night, she sat in the dark, staring out at the city below. She was now married to the coldest man in the galaxy, but something about him didn't feel empty. There were cracks in his mask, small ones, and Alira planned to find out what he was really hiding, not just to survive the year, but maybe to understand the man behind the ice. The next morning, Alira woke up in a bed that didn't feel like hers. The sheets were smooth, the lights adjusted automatically with her movements, and the room smelled like cold metal mixed with artificial flowers. She sat up slowly and looked around. It was her new life now. A life she had not chosen out of love, but out of desperation. Her private room in the Drax Citadel was bigger than her entire old apartment. The walls were white with gold lines running through them like energy circuits. A glass panel on the wall showed the outside view of her cars flying between tall towers, and far in the sky, the blue rings of the upper orbit. But none of it felt real to her. She freshened up and stepped into the hallway. The silence of the place made her uncomfortable. No noise, no staff walking around, not even the sound of air vents. Everything was smooth and perfect. Too perfect, she found Kaylin in the large central lounge, sitting at a glass table, reading something on a virtual screen that floated in the air. He didn't look up when she walked in. "Good morning," Alira said carefully. Kaylin didn't respond immediately. After a few seconds, he said in a flat tone, "You will have your schedule sent to your datapad shortly. We will be attending 2 public events this week. One is a business conference. The other is a formal dinner hosted by the Trade Council." Alira nodded slowly. "I understand." He turned off his screen and stood up. "You are required to act like my wife in public. Be polite. Speak when spoken to. Smile if needed. Do not try to impress anyone. Just look presentable." Alira frowned. "You make it sound like I'm a display robot." Kaylin looked at her for a moment. "You're not. But that doesn't mean people won't treat you like one, especially in our world. They watch everything. The way you walk, talk, breathe. If you act wrongly, the deal could fall apart." "What deal?" she asked, her voice sharp. Kaylin paused. "That's not your concern." He walked away before she could ask more questions. Later that day, Alira received her full list of rules, clothing options for appearances, and a list of people she should avoid speaking to without Kaylin present. Everything felt strict, cold, and mechanical. She felt like she had stepped into a machine, where her feelings didn't matter, but she kept reminding herself, "I did this for Laren." That night, after dinner in silence, she walked back toward her room. On the way, she noticed a small door slightly open near the end of the hallway. Out of curiosity, she peeked inside. It was a large study. Unlike the rest of the Citadel, this room was warm. Real books lined the walls. There were soft lights, old-style paper maps of space sectors, and even a small coffee table with handwritten notes. Kaylin was in the corner, staring at a photo frame on the shelf. Alira didn't mean to disturb him, but her voice came out anyway. "This room feels different." Kaylin didn't turn. "It's mine. You shouldn't be here." "I'm sorry," she said. It just looked human. That made him turn. His face was still calm, but there was a flicker of something in his eyes. He walked to her slowly, then pointed at the photo behind him. It showed a young woman with short dark hair, smiling, standing next to Kaylin from years ago. He looked younger too, softer. "She was my sister," he said quietly. "She died 4 years ago. An internal betrayal during a tech war. Someone sold out our location. She was caught in the attack." Alira felt her chest tighten. "I didn't know." "You're not supposed to," he said, walking past her. "I don't speak about it. Not to anyone, not even my board." She was the only real family I had left. For a second, the wall around Kaylin seemed to crack. A cold man who had shown no emotion was now sharing something that hurt him deeply. Alira took a risk. "Is that why you act this way? Keep people away?" Kaylin looked at her directly. "Emotions are weaknesses in my world. I can't afford them. Not anymore." He left the room, and the door slid shut behind him. Days passed. Alira followed the schedule. She wore elegant dresses chosen by the Citadel's eye stylist. She attended the public events as planned, stood beside Kaylin as he greeted investors and spoke at conferences. He never held her hand, but he always introduced her formally. "This is my wife," he would say, and nothing more. People stared at her with curiosity. Some whispered, some smiled, some judged. She smiled when needed, nodded when required, and kept her words polite and simple, just as Kaylin had instructed. But every night, when she returned to her room, she felt like a ghost living in a golden cage. One evening, as she sat by her window, her datapad blinked. It was a message from Lorene. "Sis, I don't know how to thank you. They cleared everything. A man came and said I was safe now. Are you okay? What kind of deal did you make? Please tell me you're not in danger." Alira smiled faintly. Her heart felt lighter for the first time. "I'm fine, Laren. Just focus on staying safe. I'll handle the rest." Later that night, she passed by the study again. The door was open. Kaylin wasn't there, but the lights were on. She stepped inside slowly and sat down on the couch. She noticed something new, a small sculpture on the side table. A phoenix rising from fire. Written under it, "From ashes we begin again." Alira touched the sculpture gently and whispered to herself, "Maybe there's more to him than he wants the world to see. And maybe, just maybe, this 1-year contract wasn't going to be as simple as she thought." The days turned into weeks. Alira slowly adjusted to life inside the Drax Citadel, but it never truly felt like home. Everything was perfectly designed and clean, but also cold and distant. Just like her husband, Kaylin remained the same in public, serious, calm, and always in control. He spoke with power, and people listened to him with respect and fear. Behind closed doors, he was quiet and rarely spoke unless it was necessary. Their conversations were short and formal, but Alira had always been observant. She paid attention to the little things, and slowly, she started to see small cracks in his frozen armor. One evening, during a private dinner arranged by the Citadel's eye chef, Alira noticed something unusual. Kaylin was staring at his food, not eating, lost in thought. She asked softly, "Long day?" He blinked, almost surprised that she had spoken. "Just business," he replied, pushing his plate aside. "That's what you always say," she said, with a small smile. "But even machines overheat if they don't rest." Kaylin looked at her carefully. "You think I'm a machine?" "No," she said, setting her fork down. I think you're someone who's trying very hard to act like one. His gaze stayed on her for a few moments. Then he stood up without saying anything and left the room. Alira sighed. Always running away from feelings, she whispered. To herself. That night, Alira couldn't sleep. Something kept bothering her. Kalen had many secrets, and she could feel them every time he looked at her like he wanted to say something. Stopped himself. She remembered the datapad he gave her during their first night, the contract and the strict rules. But there had been more files in it, most of them locked. She hadn't tried to open them before, but now curiosity pulled her in. She activated the datapad and began scanning through the system. Most files had strong protection, but one folder caught her eye. It was named A7 Shield. She tried a few basic codes. Nothing worked. Then she typed in the name she had seen in the study, the woman in the photo. Selene Drax, to her surprise. The folder opened. Inside were records of secret projects, business rivalries, and encrypted files labeled Threat Level High. But what shocked her most were the private recordings. Kalen's voice, calmer, softer, was speaking in some of them. She reminds me of Selene, not just in her face, but in her courage. Alira is more than a contract. But I cannot allow myself to get close, not again. Alira's heart skipped a beat. He had been thinking about her, feeling something, but hiding it. She closed the datapad and sat in silence for a long time. The next morning, Kalen was already in the training hall. When Alira passed by, he was dressed in black, practicing combat moves with a high-speed simulation bot. He moved like a shadow, fast, precise, powerful. She had never seen this side of him before. When he noticed her watching, he stopped. "You're up early," he sighed, breathing lightly. "I couldn't sleep," she replied. "I didn't know you were trained in combat." "I was a soldier once, before I became CEO," he said simply. "You were in a war?" she asked, stepping closer. Kalen nodded. "A long time ago, when our family still fought for survival instead of profit. I left that life, but I kept the skills." Alira looked at him closely. "You're full of surprises." "Surprises are dangerous," he replied. "In my world, showing too much gets you killed." Later that week, Kalen had to attend a secret board meeting on a different level of the Citadel. Alira was not invited, but something strange happened while he was gone. The power flickered. The usually smooth-running AI system glitched for a moment. Doors locked and unlocked. Lights blinked. It lasted only 5 seconds, but Alira noticed it. She quickly contacted the internal security system and asked if something was wrong. "No. Errors detected," the AI responded. But Alira wasn't convinced. Using her engineering skills, she accessed a secondary control panel in one of the storage rooms. It was old tech, not connected to the main network. She checked the logs and found something disturbing. Someone had tried to access Kalen's private files during the power flicker. The attempt failed, but it was clear. Someone inside the Citadel was spying on him. That evening, Kalen returned looking tired but calm. Alira waited until dinner to speak. "Someone tried to hack your files," she said quietly. He froze for a second. "How do you know?" "I checked the old panel systems. There was an attempt during a power glitch. I think someone from your board is involved." Kalen didn't answer right away. Then he spoke slowly. "I've known for a while. That's part of why I needed this marriage." Alira was confused. "What do you mean?" He looked at her carefully. "There's someone in my inner circle who wants to take over. They believe I'm distracted or weak. By marrying a complete outsider, someone no one expected, I made them nervous. They're watching you too now." Alira's eyes widened. "You used me as bait?" "No," he said firmly. "I brought you here because I needed someone I could trust. Eventually." She didn't know what to say. "You're not a puppet." "Alira," he said, softer than before. But you're now part of a bigger game. That night, Alira walked into the study again. This time, Kellen joined her. They sat in silence for a few minutes before he spoke. You shouldn't have opened that folder, he said, but his voice wasn't angry. I had to know, she replied. You hide everything. But I can see you're not the man the galaxy fears. He looked at the photo of his sister. I lost too much because I trusted the wrong people. Alira leaned forward. Then maybe it's time to trust someone new. Kalen didn't respond. But for the first time, she saw something real in his eyes, not ice, not control, but pain. And maybe a little hope. The air inside Drax Citadel felt heavier than usual. Ever since Alira told Kalen about the hacking attempt, a quiet tension had taken over. Guards were now more alert. Cameras moved a little faster. And Kalen himself, though still calm, had become more serious, more distant. Alira noticed the change. He was protecting something. Or someone. But she was no longer just a quiet observer. She had entered his world now, a world full of secrets, danger, and betrayal. One evening, Kalen received a message that made him frown. We're invited to the Central Tech Expo on Orion Station, he told Alira while scrolling through the details on his datapad. Sounds like fun, she said with a smile, trying to lighten the mood. He didn't smile back. The invitation came from the Zarin Group. Alira raised her eyebrows. Aren't they your main rivals in defense tech? Yes, he replied. And the ones who want me gone. Then why accept their invitation? Because refusing would look weak, and weakness invites attack. 3 days later, they arrived at Orion Station, a giant space platform floating near Saturn's rings. It was filled with rich investors, company leaders, and famous scientists. The expo was bright, colorful, and buzzing with new technology. Alira wore a sleek silver dress, her hair tied in a neat bun. Kalen, as usual, wore his signature black suit and expressionless face. They walked side by side, attracting glances from the crowd. People whispered as they passed, "That's the new Mrs. Drax. She doesn't look like the type. He finally married someone?" Alira ignored the voices. She focused on staying calm, keeping her posture straight, and acting like the confident woman Kellen needed her to be. Inside the main hall, they were greeted by Corinne Vess, the head of Zarin Group. He was charming, tall, and spoke with a smile that never touched his eyes. "Kalen," he said, extending his hand. "Always a pleasure. And this must be your lovely wife." Alira shook his hand. "Alira Wynn, thank you for the invitation." "Oh, you're welcome," Corinne said smoothly. "We were curious to meet the woman who managed to freeze the heart of the Ice King." Kalen didn't react, but Alira felt his hand tighten slightly. Corinne continued, "Please, enjoy the expo. I'm sure you'll find something unexpected." His words held a hidden meaning. A warning, maybe. Or a threat. As the event went on, Alira noticed something strange. Several people in the crowd kept watching her closely. Too closely. Their eyes followed her every move. At one point, while Kalen was speaking with a group of investors, Alira felt someone brush past her. She turned, but the person was gone. She looked down and found a small data chip in her hand. Quickly and quietly, she slipped it into her clutch and said nothing. Back at the Citadel that night, Alira locked herself in her room and scanned the chip. It contained only one file, a short video. In it, a blurry figure whispered, "Your husband is not who he says he is. Ask him about Project H9, and ask what happened to the real Alira Wynn." Her heart dropped. "What do they mean, the real Alira Wynn?" she whispered. Was this some kind of trick? Or a deeper secret? She didn't go to Kalen right away. Instead, she decided to look into it herself. Using an old database hidden in a cybernetic lab, she searched for any mention of Project H9. It was listed as classified, buried deep under layers of fake files. But after hours of work, she Found something, a research document from years ago signed by Selena Drax. It described a secret project about identity masking and memory rewriting. The goal was to create perfect doubles people who could take on someone else's life completely, even without knowing it themselves. Alira stared at the screen in shock. Was she one of them? Was she even really Alira Wynn? The next morning, she confronted Kalen. "I need to know the truth," she said. Standing in front of him in his private office. He looked up from his screen. "About what?" "Project H9, and about me." For the first time, his calm face broke. He stood up slowly and walked to the window. "I knew this day would come," he said quietly. "But I hoped it wouldn't be so soon. Just tell me." Alira said. "Please." Kalen turned to her. "You are Alira Wynn. That part is real. But there's something you don't know. Something that could put your life in danger." "What is it?" He hesitated. "You were part of a failed memory reconstruction program. You volunteered to have parts of your memory altered to forget your pain after your parents died. But when Celine died, I ended the project. I thought it was over." "Then why did that video say I wasn't the real me?" "Because someone wants you to doubt everything. They want to break the only thing I have left to trust you." Alira stared at him, trying to understand what was real and what wasn't. "I never wanted you to be part of this war," he said. "But now you're in it. And I will protect you no matter what." That night, Alira stood alone in the study, staring at the sculpture of the phoenix again. "From ashes we begin again." The words meant more now. Maybe her past wasn't as clear as she thought. Maybe she had forgotten things that once hurt. Too much. But one thing was sure, she was no longer a pawn in someone else's game. She was going to find the truth, even if it meant walking through fire. The Citadel had never felt so quiet. Alira walked slowly through the long hallways, her mind full of questions. Her heart was heavy, but not just with fear or confusion. There was something else now. A deep connection that had started to grow between her and Kalen. It scared her almost more than the secrets she had discovered the hidden truth about Project H9. She had seen files about memory alteration and identity protection, and Kalen had confirmed it. She had agreed to forget a painful past. But what that past was, she still didn't know. Still, one thing was now clear. Kalen didn't just marry her to make a political move. He married her because he believed in something more. Maybe he didn't say it aloud, but his eyes had started to speak. And Alira was beginning to listen. Later that morning, Kalen invited her to a new part of the Citadel she had never seen before. "Secret lab. Why are you showing me this now?" she asked as they walked through the secured hallway. "Because you've seen too much to be left in the dark," he said. "And because I trust you." The lab was huge, filled with quiet machines, glowing tables, and suspended glass chambers. But what surprised Alira most was the soft, peaceful energy of the room. It didn't feel like a place of war. It felt like a place of healing. "This is where I'm building the future," Kalen said. "A defense system that doesn't kill, but protects. A way to end corporate wars without blood." Alira moved closer to one of the central consoles. On the screen, she saw blueprints for drones, shields, and energy barriers, not weapons. "I thought you were a war leader," she said. "I was," he answered. "But after Celine died, I knew something had to change." She believed in protection, not destruction. "I promised her I'd finish what she started." He looked at Alira now, not as a CEO, but as a man trying to keep a promise to someone he loved. "She believed in helping people," he continued, "just like you do." Alira's voice softened. "And what do you believe in now?" There was a pause. "You," Kalen said, without looking away. That night, the Citadel's garden dome opened for the first time since their wedding. It was a glass-covered space filled with real plants, soft glowing lights, and the peaceful sound of running water. Lira stood under the stars, feeling the cool air on her skin. For the first time in weeks, she felt calm. Kalen joined her, not in his usual black suit, but in a plain dark shirt, more human than she had ever seen him. "I never told you what happened the night Selene died," he said, looking up at the stars. Lyra turned to him, listening closely. "She was targeted during a peace deal. Someone in my board sold our location. I was too focused on business to notice the danger signs. She died because I trusted the wrong people. And now you trust no one," Lyra whispered. "Until you," he said. She stepped closer. "And what if I get hurt because of this trust?" "I would never let that happen." They stood silently. No words. Just the quiet pull between two people who had been hiding behind masks for too long. The next morning, Lyra visited the Citadel's AI data center. She wanted answers about her past, her forgotten memories, and what else Project H9 had changed. Inside her mind, she used her clearance, now upgraded by Kalen, to access locked files. It took time, but she found something shocking. A memory archive. Inside were short clips, some blurry, some clear. A young Lyra crying in a hospital, holding her brother's hand, standing beside two graves, watching their home burn in a fire. One message stood out. It was from a woman, her voice gentle, warm. "Lyra, I know this pain is too much for you. That's why you chose to forget. But one day, you'll want to remember again. And when that time comes, I hope you've found someone who makes the pain worth it." Lyra stared at the screen, tears in her eyes. She remembered now. The fire, the loss, the lonely nights protecting Laren, and the guilt she carried for surviving when her parents didn't. And Kalen, he had never forced her into anything. He gave her a chance to choose a new life, even if it started as a contract. Now it was something else. That night, as the stars shone through the garden dome again, Lyra sat on the bench alone. She didn't hear Kalen arrive, but she felt his presence beside her. "You saw the memory files," he said quietly. She nodded. "I remember everything now." He waited for her reaction, but she didn't run. She didn't cry. Instead, she turned to him and said, "Thank you for giving me time, for not pushing me." Kalen looked at her, his expression unreadable. "I never wanted to control you, Lyra. I only wanted to protect you." She reached out and held his hand, something she had never done before. "And maybe now, I want to protect you too," she said. Kalen's voice was low, full of emotion. "I never thought someone could bring warmth into this place again. Into me." They sat like that for a long time, hand in hand under the stars. There was no contract, no rules in that moment. Only two people finding something real between the wires, the walls, and the scars. The soft peace that had begun to grow between Lyra and Kalen didn't last long. Just 2 days after she recovered her memories, the Citadel security system triggered a silent alert. Kalen received the report first. His face turned serious as he stood in the main control room, staring at the large digital screen. "Unauthorized access attempt," the AI voice said. "Sector 3, internal system breach blocked. Trace the source," Kalen ordered. "Lock down all non-essential access." Lyra entered moments later, her expression calm but curious. "What happened?" she asked. Kalen didn't look away from the screen. "Someone tried to enter the prototype vault from inside the Citadel." Her heart dropped. "You mean someone here?" He nodded. "Yes, a traitor among my people." Kalen called an emergency meeting with only 4 of his most trusted board members. Lyra stayed out of the room, waiting silently in the hallway, her mind racing. She remembered what Kalen told her before, that he suspected someone close was feeding information to their enemies. Maybe this was the final proof. She checked her datapad. Her brother Laren hadn't messaged in 2 days. That wasn't like him. She quickly sent a voice call request. It didn't connect. Lyra frowned. "Laren, where are you?" she whispered. To herself. After the meeting, Kalen returned to the control room. His face was tighter now, jaw clenched. "We know who did it," he said. Lyra looked at him carefully. "Who?" "Ruth Orlin, my communications director. She's been working with Zarin Group for over a year." "But why now?" Elira asked. "Why strike after so long?" "Because," Kalen replied, "they don't just want my company now. They want you." Elira's eyes widened. "Me?" Kalen nodded. "You've become important to me, publicly and personally. Taking you down weakens me." Elira felt a cold shiver go down her spine. That night, Elira sat in her room, thinking of Laren. She tried to call him again. No answer. Worry crept deeper into her chest. Suddenly, her door opened. Kalen stood there, looking more serious than ever. "Elira," he said. "We just received a transmission from Sector 12. What is it?" He handed her a screen. On it was a video recording. Laren sat tied to a chair in a dark room. His face was bruised, his eyes full of fear. A masked figure stood beside him. "Kalen Drax, you took what belonged to us. Now we take what belongs to you. Trade the prototype or the boy dies." Elira gasped, covering her mouth. "No, I'm sorry," Kalen said softly. "They kidnapped him." Tears filled Elira's eyes. "We have to save him." "I will," Kalen said, his voice strong. "I promise you, I will bring him back." The next morning, Kalen prepared his personal strike team. They would leave in a stealth ship within hours. Elira wanted to go with him, but he shook his head. "No," he said. "It's too dangerous. If anything happens to me, you'll need to hold this place together." "But I can help," she began. "I know you can. That's why I trust you with this." He gently placed a small cube into her hand. "This is the core of Project Aegis, the shield we've built. If they attack while I'm gone, activate it. But only if you have no other choice." Elira held the cube tightly. "Come back with him, Kalen, please." He looked at her one last time before walking toward the ship. "I will. For you." Hours passed. Elira monitored the Citadel systems, watching every message, every signal. She couldn't sit still. Her brother was in danger, and Kalen was risking everything to save him. Suddenly, the main screen blinked. An emergency code. "Warning, outer defense perimeter breached." The Citadel shook slightly as the energy shield flared. Someone was attacking from the inside. Elira rushed to the command deck. The eye activated red alerts across all sectors. Breach detected in central control. Unauthorized drones approaching. Elira remembered the cube Kalen gave her. She ran to the central power node and placed the cube into the slot. The system glowed blue. Project Aegis initializing. A wave of protective energy pulsed through the Citadel. Every door locked. Defense fields snapped into place. The entire structure glowed like a force of light. The enemy drones tried to break through but failed. Elira stood in the command center, heart racing, hands shaking. But she had done it. She had protected Kalen's legacy. And herself. Just as the last enemy drone was neutralized, her screen flashed again, this time with Kalen's voice. "Elira, are you safe?" "Yes," she shouted. "I activated the shield. We're holding." "Good," he said, breathing hard. "I've got Laren. We're on our way back." She closed her eyes in relief. "You found him. He's safe. But we need to talk when I return. Things are changing." When Kalen returned later that night, Elira ran to the landing pad. Laren stepped out first, limping slightly but alive. "Elira," he called. She hugged him tightly, tears running down her cheeks. "I thought I lost you." "I'm okay now," Laren said, holding her. "He saved me." Elira looked up. Kalen stepped out of the ship, dirt and blood on his shirt, but standing tall. She walked toward him. "You kept your promise." He nodded. "I always will." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Kalen looked at her with a new expression, something deeper, more vulnerable. "I didn't just fight for your brother," he said softly. "I fought for you, because I finally understand what I feel." Elira's heart skipped a beat. "I've spent my life building walls," he continued. "But you made me want to tear them down." She smiled gently, eyes wet with emotion. "Then let me help you, brick by brick." Kalen reached out, taking her hand. "From now on, no more contracts, no more pretending, just truth." Elira held his hand tightly. "No more fear," she said. "Just us." The morning light poured softly through the tall windows of the Drax Citadel. For the first time in many weeks, the atmosphere felt lighter, almost peaceful. The battle had been won, but the war inside their hearts was just beginning. Elira stood at the balcony, looking out at the sprawling city below. The neon glow of Luria was fading as the sun rose higher. She thought about everything that had happened, her brother's rescue, the secret projects, the betrayals, and most of all, the man who had once seemed so cold, but was now opening up. To her, behind her, footsteps echoed softly on the marble floor. Kalen appeared in the doorway, dressed casually, but still carrying his usual quiet strength. "You look different this morning," Elira said, turning to face him. Kalen smiled, a rare and genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Because today is different. Today we start over. Not as strangers in a contract, but as partners." Elira felt warmth spread inside her chest. "I want that too, but it won't be easy." "We both carry scars," Kalen nodded. "Scars are reminders that we survived and that we can grow stronger." Over the next few days, the Citadel changed. The cold, rigid rules that had controlled Elira's life began to loosen. Kalen invited her to share more decisions, listen to her ideas about the projects, and even spend time outside the Citadel in the city. Elira helped him organize a charity event for families affected by corporate wars. It was the first public event where she wasn't just the CEO's wife, but a leader in her own right. At the event, as they stood on the stage together, Kalen whispered, "You make me better." Elira smiled softly, squeezing his hand. "And you make me brave." One evening, after a quiet dinner in the Garden Dome, Kalen led Elira to a small room she hadn't seen before. The door slid open, revealing a cozy space filled with soft light and comfortable chairs. In the center was a single glass box holding a small glowing seed. "This," Kalen said, "is the first successful creation of our new defense system. It's not just technology, it's life, a symbol of hope." Elira reached out and touched the glass, a seed for a new beginning. He took her hand gently, "Just like us." Days passed and their relationship grew deeper. They learned to trust each other, not just as partners in business, but as people with fears, hopes, and dreams. One night, while looking at the stars in the Garden Dome, Elira asked softly, "Do you think we can have a real future together? After all this?" Kalen looked at her, his eyes full of sincerity. "I don't just think it, I believe it. Because you showed me how to feel again. You brought warmth to a frozen heart." Elira smiled, feeling tears well up. "And you gave me strength when I needed it most." They leaned closer, their foreheads touching gently. "In this life," Kalen whispered, "we only get one chance to be truly happy. I don't want to waste ours." The following weeks were filled with new challenges, but also new joys. Kalen and Elira faced corporate rivals, political intrigues, and personal fears. Together, they built a new vision for the Drax conglomerate, one where technology served people, not war, where families like Elira's could find hope, not fear. Laren, now safe and inspired by his sister's courage, decided to start a small tech business helping young engineers. Elira felt proud watching him take his first steps toward a better future. One morning, as the Citadel's eye announced the arrival of important guests, Kalen turned to Elira with a confident smile. Ready for our first real public announcement? Elira nodded, feeling stronger than ever. Let's do this. Together, they stepped into the main hall filled with reporters and investors. Kaylin spoke first, announcing the launch of their new peaceful technology initiative. Elira followed, sharing her vision for rebuilding lives torn apart by conflict. Their words were met with applause and hope. That night, back in the quiet garden dome, Kaylin took Elira's hand and looked into her eyes. "Thank you," he said softly, "for trusting me, for fighting with me." Elira smiled, feeling a peace she had never known before. "Thank you for showing me what love can be." They stood together under the stars, no longer bound by contracts or fear. Just two hearts, ready to face whatever the future held.